In the sprawling city of Aethernia, skyscrapers touched the clouds like silver spears. The city was alive with light, but shadows crept in every corner. Among the millions living there, one young man carried a secret he had never dared to share. His name was Zion Khalid, a 22-year-old electrical engineering student who spent his nights repairing broken radios and studying energy patterns. To most people, he was an ordinary dreamer. But to himself, he was something far more dangerous. Because hidden within him was a power he barely understood. He could manipulate shadows, bend them, solidify them, and even vanish into them. It wasn't a gift he asked for. It was something that appeared one stormy night when he was just a boy. He remembered it clearly. The night his parents died in a mysterious factory explosion, the flames should have consumed him too. But instead, shadows rose like a shield around him. They wrapped him, carried him, and saved him. Since then, he was no longer ordinary. Yet he told no one, not even his younger brother Irfan. Irfan thought Zion was just the responsible elder brother, studying hard to build a future. And Zion preferred it that way. But Aethernia was not a city that allowed secrets to remain buried. For in the depths of the city's underworld, a figure moved with equal mastery of darkness. Malvek, a criminal mastermind, had been experimenting with forbidden energy sources. He had discovered that shadows were not just absences of light, but living threads of another realm. And he wanted to control them all. His ambition was simple: rule Aethernia by plunging it into endless night. One evening, Zion was walking home from his night shift at a small repair shop. The street lamps flickered strangely, dimming one after another as he passed. He froze. His instincts told him something unnatural was happening. And then he saw them, 3 men in black armor, their helmets glowing with faint red slits. They carried strange weapons that buzzed with crackling energy. Targets identified, one of them muttered into his comms. Zion's heart pounded. He didn't know how, but he knew they were hunting him. He turned and ran, darting through narrow alleys. The soldiers followed, their boots clanging against the pavement. A shot fired, a crimson bolt of energy whizzed past him, scorching the wall. He tripped, stumbled, and instinctively reached out. The shadows around the alley thickened, rising like a wave. They swallowed him whole, and in the blink of an eye, he vanished. Reappearing behind the soldiers, he gasped in disbelief. He had never teleported like that before. But his body had acted on pure desperation. The men spun, confused. Zion clenched his fists, shadows wrapping around them like gloves. He swung, and the blow sent one soldier flying into a dumpster. Another aimed his rifle, but Zion raised a wall of darkness that absorbed the blast. When the third charged, Zion grabbed his arm, and the shadows consumed the weapon, leaving only smoking fragments. The fight ended quickly. The soldiers retreated, muttering something about reporting to Malvek. And Zion was left standing in the silence, his chest heaving. For the first time, he realized someone knew about his powers. And they weren't going to stop coming. Over the next few days, Zion's life spiraled into chaos. He tried to attend his university classes, but paranoia gnawed at him. Every shadow felt alive. Every stranger's gaze lingered too long. Irfan noticed. "Bye, you're not yourself," Irfan said one morning over breakfast. Zion forced a smile. "Just exams." But inside, he was breaking. That night, he returned to the site of the factory explosion that had claimed his parents. The building was now a ruin, rusted metal and shattered glass. Yet as he stood there, the shadows stirred unnaturally. And then he heard the voice. Smooth, deep, and chilling. "So, you're the survivor." Zion spun, his eyes narrowing. Malvek stepped out from the ruins, his cloak flowing like liquid darkness. His eyes glowed a sickly violet. "I've been searching for you, child of the void," Malvek said. Zion's fists clenched. "You sent those soldiers?" Malvek smiled. "Of course. You and I are connected. The shadows saved you, as they saved me. But unlike you, I embraced them fully." He raised his hand, and the ground darkened as tendrils of shadow slithered outward. Zion stepped back, summoning his own defenses. "I don't know what you want." Malvek's grin widened. "I want you to join me. Together, we can reshape this city. We can turn fear into power. You were never meant to be ordinary, Zion." For a moment, Zion faltered. The temptation was real. But then he thought of Irfan, his family, his parents' memory. He shook his head. "I'll never join you." Malvek's expression hardened. "Then you'll fall." Their shadows clashed like living storms. Blades of darkness slashed through the air. Zion fought desperately, his control shaky but fueled by determination. Malvek was far stronger, his mastery decades ahead. A single strike sent Zion crashing into a wall, pain exploding through his ribs. Malvek loomed over him. "You can't resist forever. You are mine." But before Malvek could deliver the final blow, sirens wailed. Police vehicles surrounded the ruins, lights flashing. Malvek sneered. "Another time." And he vanished into the void. Zion staggered to his feet, shaken. He knew now that this wasn't just about survival. It was war. Over the following weeks, Zion trained relentlessly. He tested his limits, discovering new abilities. He could solidify shadows into weapons, daggers, whips, even shields. He learned to melt into darkness and emerge elsewhere. Sometimes he heard whispers in the shadows, voices from another realm. They warned him, guided him, sometimes frightened him. But he endured. He had to. Irfan noticed the change. "You're stronger," he remarked one evening as Zion returned home sweaty and bruised. Zion forced a laugh. "Just working out." But Irfan wasn't fooled. He had seen the news reports. People were talking about a shadowy vigilante who had saved civilians from gang attacks. Irfan put the pieces together. He confronted Zion late one night. "It's you, isn't it? The Shadow Guardian." Zion froze. His mouth went dry. "Irfan," but Irfan's eyes weren't angry. They were proud. If you're protecting this city, then I'll protect you." Tears pricked Zion's eyes. For the first time, he didn't feel alone. Meanwhile, Malvek expanded his influence. His soldiers attacked power plants, plunging districts into darkness. Crime spread like wildfire. The city's leaders were powerless. Fear ruled. And Malvek's message was clear: submit or perish. Zion knew he had to stop him. But doubt gnawed at him. What if Malvek was right? What if the shadows truly belonged to darkness? He sought answers in the city's ancient archives. There he discovered fragments of old texts, legends of the Umbra Nexus, a realm of pure shadow energy. It was said that those touched by the Nexus either became saviors or destroyers. The choice was always theirs. Zion clenched his fists. He knew what his choice had to be. The final confrontation came sooner than expected. Malvek unleashed a shadow storm, a massive wave of darkness that swallowed half the city. People screamed as creatures of pure void emerged, tearing through the streets. Zion stood on a rooftop, watching the chaos. His heart raced, but fear no longer ruled him. He leapt, shadows carrying him into the battlefield. The fight was brutal. Zion battled shadow beasts, striking with blades of darkness. Civilians ran, crying for help. He shielded them, teleporting them to safety when he could. Malvek's laughter echoed through the storm. "You cannot win, boy." Zion faced him amidst the swirling void. "I'm not fighting for power. I'm fighting for them." Their shadows clashed again, titans of night and will. Malvek struck with fury, summoning colossal shadow serpents. Zion countered, pouring every ounce of his soul into his defense. The whispers of the Nexus grew louder. "Choose, Zion. Savior, or destroyer." He roared, channeling the energy not into domination but protection. The shadows around him glowed faintly with silver light. Malvek's eyes widened. "Impossible, you've purified them." With a final strike, Zion unleashed a surge of radiant shadows that consumed Malvek's form. The storm collapsed. The creatures vanished. Silence fell. When the dust settled, the people of Aethernia looked up at their unlikely hero. The Shadow Guardian had saved them. Irfan rushed to his brother's side, hugging him tightly. "You did it, bye." Zion smiled faintly, though exhaustion weighed on him. "We did it." Malvek was gone, but not destroyed. In the cracks of the Nexus, his voice still lingered, whispering promises of return. Zion knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Weeks later, Aethernia began to rebuild. People spoke of the Shadow Guardian with hope instead of fear. Zion returned to his studies, balancing normal life with his secret identity. Sometimes he wondered if he would ever truly be free. But when he looked at Irfan, at the people he had saved, he knew his path was chosen. He was not cursed. He was chosen. Nights in Aethernia were no longer silent. Somewhere in the dark, criminals trembled. Because they knew the shadows were watching. They knew their protector was near. Zion stood on a rooftop, his cape of shadows flowing in the wind. He looked at the horizon, where dawn began to break. For the first time, he felt peace. Yet he also knew, new threats would come. The Nexus was vast, and he had only touched its surface. Other wielders might rise, heroes or monsters. He would be ready for them. Because he was more than Zion Khalid now. He was the guardian of shadows. Down below, Irfan called from their apartment window. "Bye, chai ready high." Zion chuckled, letting the shadows carry him gently down. For a moment, he was just a brother again. But in the distance, a faint purple glow flickered. A reminder that Malvek's darkness was not gone. It was waiting. Watching. And someday, it would strike again. Until then, the people of Aethernia slept peacefully. Because they believed in their Shadow Guardian. And belief was stronger than fear. Zion knew the road ahead would be long. He would face betrayal, battles, and losses. But he had something Malvek never understood. He had love. He had family. He had hope. On nights when the whispers of the Nexus haunted him, he remembered his parents' faces. He remembered Irfan's pride. And he remembered the choice he made. Light and darkness were never enemies. They were balance. And he was their bridge. The city skyline gleamed under the rising sun. The streets slowly filled with life again. Vendors opened stalls, children played, and laughter returned. Zion breathed deeply, letting the crisp morning air fill his lungs. "This is why I fight," he whispered. Somewhere far away, Malvek stirred in exile, his hatred growing. His voice echoed in unseen places. "Enjoy your peace, Guardian. Soon, the Nexus will be mine." But Zion didn't fear him anymore. Because he wasn't fighting alone. The city stood with him. His brother stood with him. And perhaps, someday, others with powers like his would join him too. Until then, the shadows would remain his ally. Silent, watchful, protective. And so, the legend of the Shadow Guardian grew. From whispered rumors to children's stories, from news headlines to songs sung by street performers. A hero born from tragedy. A warrior of night. A brother who carried the weight of a city. A man who chose hope over despair. And as the sun rose higher, Zion smiled. His story was far from over. It had only just begun. The shadows stirred around him, loyal and unyielding. And with a final breath, he whispered into the wind, "I am the Shadow Guardian."